Welcome to the POLYMUSE podcast. I'm Michael.
I am Ben. How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome.
Today we are covering Minutes to Midnight.
I love this album. It's going to be a blast.
All right, so this was like the third, technically, Linkin Park album of fully new tracks
Okay.
after Hybrid Theory
Yeah.
and Meteora. Meteora, right?
Yeah. This is part 3, technically, yes. We've done however many episodes in between.
Yeah, we covered Fort Minor, Mike Shinoda's side project. But Minutes to Midnight came out in 2007. Meteora came out in 2004, so several years after Meteora did. Mike Shinoda went and worked as part of Fort Minor, or was Fort Minor, and had several folks work on those projects with him.
But not Linkin Park, guys.
Right, and Chester went and worked on, what was this side group called? Dark Times, Dark Sun, Dark Side project. I'm sure we'll cover it a little bit later. But they both did their side projects, and this project was worked on several times. It was shelved several times, but they did start working on it.
I remember it took forever, dude.
Yeah.
It's like by the time this came out, a lot of the original hype had kind of died down, and it was almost like this was kind of their comeback album, even though I guess 2007, you said the other one 2004.
Yeah.
So 3 years, but it felt like they had been gone for a really long time, or maybe the world had just kept moving on. But I kind of almost wasn't even into Linkin Park anymore the same way
Right.
by the time they got around to doing this one.
Right.
I got back into this one, but it was that cycle of those original couple albums was definitely over.
Well, they started work on it in 2003, then took a break to tour for Meteora. But it was shelved a number of different times in between there. Dead by Sunrise. That was
There we go.
That was the side project for Chester.
We are going to do a episode on that album, that side project.
Yep. But this was their release. Then they didn't release another project until 2010 with 1,000 Suns. So there's another
huge gap.
Few gap years there for them. But this was the first album that had the parental advisory sticker. They had a handful of explicit songs on the album. They also switched out producers for the great Rick Rubin.
Yeah, Rick Rubin did this album. Holy cow. That's a huge get for Linkin Park. That's it really shows how multifaceted and deep their music is, to need a guy like Rick Rubin to help them sort it all out.
And that's what he did. He came in and helped out with the writing process.
Yeah, he's the kind of producer who just has so much good taste that bands kind of bring him in and just show him a bunch of ideas, and he just kind of helps them hone in on a sound and a vision, and really kind of just gives them the kind of the courage or the inspiration to find new stuff. It's kind of crazy how he works on projects with people.
Yeah, so they wrote 50 to 60 songs for this album. This one took about over a year to wrap up, while previous albums had taken 3 to 6 months. So it took them a long time to finally get this all put together here. It sold not as well as Hybrid Theory.
Dang.
Did go 4 times platinum in the United States.
All right, that's a victory, no matter how you slice it.
Yep, and gold and platinum in all the major countries.
Everybody who keeps track.
Yep. At the time, this was still so you were still buying CDs at this time.
Probably.
Spotify came out in 2008.
Okay.
iTunes was selling individual songs for 99 cents or $1.29, I believe. Maybe not even at this point if they were really hot singles. Or maybe that was the markup that came later. I can't remember the exact progression. And people were still file sharing or borrowing per se. That was frowned upon. But this was still something you would have gone to the store to purchase in all likelihood.
Which I did not. I'm not sure how I got a hold of this one. I'm not sure if I was in the age of burning CDs or not. I can't remember how I heard this one at first. Now I've gone back on Spotify, obviously.
Exactly,
but
yeah, this was a borrow and burn for me.
Borrow and burn.
From my local library.
Yeah, it's weird. This is a great album, as we're going to see. I really, really like a lot of the music on this, but it is kind of strange how that initial hype was just over with, and we didn't even, we bought the first however many, with Reanimation, and we bought the Jay-Z one with the DVD and all that, and then I don't know what it was. What other music did we get into in between? I'm not even sure off the top of my head. This is a grower. This one was a grower.
Yeah.
Not a lot of hype up top, but this music ages well as I go throughout my life. I do go back to this album quite a bit.
I was definitely moving into more hip hop at this time, but Fort Minor certainly helped with that. Early Linkin Park certainly had hip hop influences.
They helped us get on that train, definitely.
Yeah. But some of our other, top songs in 2007 here, you had Irreplaceable by Beyonce, you had Umbrella by Rihanna, Big Girls Don't Cry by Fergie, T-Pain by Ya Drink. So a bunch of those songs are around in 2007. That's what you were just starting to pay for individual downloads, or still listening to the radio to hear, or even picking up albums. But really buying individual singles online and downloading them was still just coming along there. Soulja Boy, Crank That, yeah.
Dang.
So the album did debut at number 1 on Billboard 200. Rolling Stone did call it the 25th best album of 2007.
It does not sound like a very good honor to have.
And it was 154 on the Hot 200 albums of the decade.
That's also low.
It's a placement.
It's on there, but I didn't put it
mixed,
higher.
Yeah, well, I would as well.
Top 20 of the decade, easy.
Mixed
Maybe.
Reception, though.
That's fair to say.
And you also have to wonder, I think, a little bit, if you were starting to do downloads, how that was tallied into overall album sales. Like I said, it sold about half as many as Hybrid Theory, although that was crushing record sales at that time. It sold about 4 million copies in the U.S., 20 million copies worldwide. Half as many as Hybrid Theory. But this was 7 years later. I don't know if how downloads were counted at this time. If it was tallied the same that they count streams now.
I know they've got
early 2021.
Right. I know there's some calculation that they use that to equate downloads. There's some phrase. It's like album equivalent streams or album equivalent downloads. But who knows how they were counting it at this time and how that factored in. That's a really good point.
Yeah.
Like, how could you ever expect it to sell the same as even a few years earlier where it was like only CDs?
Yeah. So, going back to that delay briefly, different pieces out there about how many songs they really wrote, shelved the project a number of times. Chester did get divorced in there, then married to a second wife. So in addition to other projects going on and shifting between who they worked with in their first 2 albums and bringing Rick Rubin in and getting the thoughts organized and going through different songs, just a whole bunch of things, both personal life and professionally, in the space between Meteora and Minutes to Midnight.
So they're just writing. Like, they don't care how long it takes, how many songs they have to write. They want to do a follow-up that will, top the other albums? Like, take it to the next level? Like,
well, and they had a lot of roughs, and then they had stuff that they actually, slightly smaller list that they actually recorded, and then they tossed some stuff out, and they kind of changed, direction in what they decided they wanted to do. So
it's just cool that they didn't feel the need to rush a product out there, but that also, like, they didn't care how many songs they had to throw away. Like, they were going to narrow in on it and find the next piece of the puzzle. Like, even though they got, however 90 songs or whatever, they're like, they got to shelve them. They're like, that's not the presentation that we're going with. Like, we could put those out and they're probably good, but we've got this really specific vision or whatever. I think they were trying to top themselves or trying to live up to the hype, basically, and take it to the next level without repeating themselves. And I think they pretty much succeed at that. What do you think about that?
And to continue to evolve. Yes. The cover art was kind of not quite silhouettes, but dark images of the 6 band members.
It's really cool.
Yep. They're standing on the North Shore Beach and Yacht Club in North Shore, California. And they actually released 10 different variations of the cover. They eventually made it out onto, I believe it was iTunes and other places now, I'm sure. But there were slight variations of the cover. That's cool. It's cool to come out and have the 6 band members. We are still together. Here's the cover of the of the new album as they're coming back.
Yeah, it looks really iconic. The shadows look good, and there's just that little bit of waves there, and the logo, and it's simple, but it's iconic, and it's a good album cover.
Now, the main album has 12 tracks, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a ton of different bonuses depending on where you picked it up at. There are iTunes bonus tracks. There are Walmart bonus tracks, Best Buy, Circuit City. I think those are all gone now. I think those are all bankrupt.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I don't think there's like a little pocket of 10 of them hanging out anywhere where 90% went bankrupt.
Yeah, some of those are not around.
Okay. Well, anyways.
I think that's fair to say.
There was some digital downloads from a release in China, I believe. Just a European release as well, digital download. So just kind of little bonus tracks all over with various live recordings and
a couple new songs.
Are there a couple new songs on there?
No Roads Left is a exclusive song, and then there's a What I've Done remix, and then Across the Line, another exclusive song, and then leave out all the rest, Mike Shinoda remix.
There we go.
The rest of them are live songs. It was that era where they would release the same album 10 different times with slightly different cover art with one different song. There's a Smashing Pumpkins album like that too. The Zeitgeist album. Great album. Did not like it at the time, but it grew on me. But the point is, they released it to, like you said, Best Buy, Circuit City, Walmart, blah, 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 blah.
11 different variations with bonus tracks.
11, yeah. So this other record, it's like each version had a different color of the cover art and a different bonus track. Like one different song. So that was obviously a trend at the time. Probably just trying to bump up those numbers of actual records sold. But that did not work. Like, even at the time, people thought that was terrible. Like, there's no reason to, like, pick and choose. Like, oh, I want this bonus track, but not that bonus track. Like, you obviously want all the music, if possible, and then...
I know even Target recently, with big artists like Taylor Swift, had a deal we could get bonus tracks with certain albums. So, I don't know if that's still the case, but I'm glad that... that's starting to go away.
I mean, they still do bonus tracks for sure, but it's like that whole idea of like 10 different versions, and it just doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't make sense to me either. But that was the case in May of 2007.
They still make you buy it twice nowadays. All the stuff that's coming out in 2021, they do the original version and then they do the deluxe version afterwards.
Yes.
Yeah, it seems like they always go for like the double album. All the big labels like that Eminem Music to Be Murdered By and that Morgan Wallen album, they were huge, and it's like they're selling 2 CDs for $16, and instead of back in the day it was only one album for $16. So it's kind of working. Those have been big hits, but this whole like one song per CD thing is not.
It must do something for streaming numbers.
Maybe. Oh, the double album thing or the
double album must do something for streaming numbers, since that's that's the main focus now.
Well, it does a lot for sales, because when you sell a double album, it counts as selling 2 albums.
Is
so
that how it goes?
Yeah, they want you. The record labels love doing double albums if they can get away with it, because it's one sale. Like, you buy it once, but then it counts as selling 2. So when you look at the album sales on a double album, it's actually half as many purchases because they count it double.
I didn't realize that actually is how they tallied it. I
It
didn't realize
is.
That's how it goes.
So it's just something to keep in mind. It's how they play the game. They love doing double albums because it's one customer with double the sale. But, it's got to be good for them to spend twice as much money up front. You know what I mean?
Interesting.
So it's got to be good enough that they're going to put double the money down.
Well, I wonder how that works when Linkin Park was doing DVD releases with all of these.
Yeah, that's a good point. That probably counts as selling 2 discs, 2 units sold, maybe. I'm not sure. I know they do tricky stuff. That's kind of the point of this conversation.
Hybrid Theory the debut album was the only project that did not have a DVD.
Just one normal CD, like a normal album, yeah.
Which is something I guess I hadn't realize until we're starting to dig through all this information. But
this is a solid single album release, just 12 really good songs, perfect amount of songs, perfect little. They really whittled it down, I guess, from 90s. It could have been a double album, it could have been a triple album with 90 songs, and maybe they will release that version of it someday, because they did do the 20th anniversary of Hybrid Theory. So what year would that be? Like 20?
And it is
2027. I guess it's coming up,
Yeah.
but
and it is a really different sound.
it's a lot of different sounds.
We do have 5 singles and 5 music videos, all in the front half of the album.
Which ones were those?
They are Given Up, which is song 2, which was the 4th single released. I guess I should go in order that they were released. Let's do that.
Yeah.
The first single was What I've Done.
That makes sense. That was massive. That was a massive song and a
Yep.
massive video. That was a lot more famous than this album by far.
Yep. So that hit number 7 on Billboard.
That's it?
Yeah, you'd think it'd go higher.
I do.
The second single was Bleed It Out.
That was pretty big too.
Yep. The third single was Shadow of the Day. Fourth single was Given Up. And the fifth single was Leave Out All the Rest.
Those all make sense for
Yeah.
the most part.
And they came out. So Leave Out All the Rest actually came out almost a year after the album was released. Came out back in 2008. So I don't know if that's always been the case, but to see singles drop so far after the album was released and still have music videos coming out that far afterwards.
It's probably more rare now.
Well, some artists just are dropping albums
Right. You just dropped the next album. Like
all the time, but
they say you got to drop
For
2
this-
albums a year to
Yeah.
make money on Spotify, to get enough clicks and enough hype and enough people directed towards your stuff. Because it used to be 1 album every 2 years. That was the industry standard. Now it's 2 albums a year.
yeah, that's interesting. Well, yeah,
Come-
I guess that makes sense.
And they just burn you out as fast as they can.
Well, that was always my mindset. Is I'll expect a new album from this artist in 2 years.
2
every
years.
other year.
That's usually the contract.
But I don't remember singles coming out.
In
Now
the
I had to
old
think
days.
back. Well, this is a new single. Oh, the new single's coming out when you hear it on the radio. And
Right.
it's like, well, have I heard this song? Was it on
Right.
the last album? I don't
Oh, yeah,
remember
that's a good
thinking that
point.
until the last decade or so, coming into, right about this time, the late
Mhm.
2000s. It's like, well, I've heard this song already. It's not a new single. If you've heard the album, you've heard this
You
song.
heard the song.
So I just think that's a little, I guess it's not wild anymore, but I thought it was wild at the time. So
Yeah, but when they take like 5 years to write a record,
you gotta stretch that out.
you gotta stretch it out.
You don't have another album for 3 years.
And not with these guys. Not with Rick Rubin.
Yeah, that's a process. So
So it's cool. It is, I don't think it's even my favorite of their later era albums. I think there's even some more good stuff coming, but this one is a really good record as well. And it's probably time to do track by track breakdown of
Mhm.
Minutes to Midnight.
Yep. So we start with a nice intro.
Really cool intro. It's actually a cool intro. I don't like intros in general, but this one actually works really well.
I was being tongue in cheek because I don't like intros, but yeah, this one's fine.
Well, it starts with like a record sound, which is cool. And then it just builds and builds and builds. It's actually musical. There's just, you got some synths and some building drums, like weird radio kind of crackling noises, and just a really heavy riff. And then it just leads straight into the next song, which is Given Up.
Doesn't really give you a taste of, again, listening to this album fresh off the press, you're not sure what to expect from Linkin Park after so many years off. And it doesn't really give you much with this minute 40-second interlude until you hit Given Up.
So you Given Up. Given Up comes in with the sound of jingling change.
That's Brad Delson, jingle jangling.
Oh, yeah. They had to get the professional drummer to jangle the change like that. But it sounds cool. It's a really good idea. And hand claps. So kind of alternative found sound percussion element there. But then it goes straight into like a rock song, like an alt rock song, like super, super heavy rock song. Really good drums, tons of guitars coming in and out. The verses are really chill, where it breaks it down to just the bass, the drums, and the vocals. And even Chester, he's keeping it really chill, kind of laid back. And then they just scream and rage on the choruses. And the change thing keeps going all the way through it. Like, you can always hear the jingling change in the background, which makes it really unique, but it never stops it from being just kind of a typical rock song as well. Like, it doesn't make it too weird, but it makes it stand out.
Or irritating, yeah.
Yeah, or annoying. What do you hear on this song? What do you think, Michael?
I think, it's one of those where you go, did Brad just drop keys? And someone goes, yes, that's it. Let's put it in a song.
They knew at that
That'll
moment.
be our epic return.
Yeah.
That'll be it.
It'll sell 1 million records.
Yeah, it's a great intro to bring Linkin Park back. They do drop out guitars in the chorus, and it's just we got a nice bass going. And then we have nice screams coming towards the end from Chester. So it's nice trends that we see from old Linkin Park, kind of.
Yeah, but it doesn't really sound like new metal, like the old metal, the new metal. It's fresh. It sounds really fresh. It doesn't sound
like Hybrid Theory.
Correct.
Linkin Park.
Correct. It does not. And I think they wanted it to. But there's no rapping, and it's not hip-hop at all. It just is kind of pounding music. I'm not even sure what style of metal this is. I'm making it sound generic now, and it's not. I think it's great. I think the lyrics are amazing. He's just really talking about, like, he's given up. He's sick of feeling. There's nothing more to say. Take it all away. What the is wrong with me? It's intense. It's really intense, but it's really on point. Like, it never sounds goofy or cheesy, and it's there's a lot of heart to it, I guess is what I'm saying with it. What do you think of the lyrics?
Yeah, it's awful. It's something that was awful high energy and very let's dance around and have fun for such a heavy topic.
But that's what they do.
It is, but that's certainly something that's overlooked here. There was a music video released with this that's kind of recorded, the way it was taped is to kind of make it look like someone is watching a concert on a videotape. So that's a fine visual, I guess. They seem to have a few music videos. Is it Faint where they're in a concert and you kind of watch them from the back and the camera flips to the front?
Probably. Kind of low budget ideas. Not really a concept to some of these videos, really.
Yeah.
Whatever.
So it's kind of fine. It's kind of strange. I don't remember watching it when it came out, but I don't know. Maybe it's nostalgic for some people if you were to pull it up. It's kind of shot like it were shot on a video camera with a concert and some weird stuff being spliced in. Maybe some subliminal imaging.
Like weird stuff.
Very strange, but not an iconic Linkin Park music video by any means, I would say.
I think the song is iconic, and I will give it an S ranking. I would put this on the all-time greatest mixtape. I would make sure there was space for Giving Up. I think it's a really unique. It's almost like a generic rock song, but it's not. It's like a unique rock song that just kind of exists all on its own and doesn't really sound like anything else.
I will note that this is one of the few explicit songs on here. I will give it I'll give it an A+. I won't quite give it an S. Ooh. I might have to actually go back and review all these songs at some point. We might have to do
a re-rank,
a review at some point. I'm giving it an A+ right now.
Fair enough.
And so we move from Giving Up into another big song, Leave Out All the Rest. And we've got, what do we have on this one?
It's like a lot of synths, like a kind of a stuttery, slappy drum loop that comes and goes. A lot of really beautiful, pretty singing from Chester. You got synths on here. You got violins on here. Definitely a power ballad. Just one of those ones that doesn't really change in dynamic or change in intensity, but just kind of stays the same the whole way through. Certain level of intensity that they just keep. And I kind of think it's weird to have the second song be a power ballad, but there are a lot of power ballads on this record. Yeah,
we're hitting pretty hard right off the bat. To me, this is one of the most memorable Linkin Park songs.
Okay.
And I'll tell you right now, this is an S for me. I just think of this song more than I do Giving Up. Yeah. So I was thinking on ranking, giving up.
Yeah.
Leave out all the rest. Just jumps it for me. This is one of the songs from the album that I think of.
So what else you got to say to get it with that S? I mean, what? It's good, but you think it's an S, huh?
I do. I like that it's still continuing in the trend of. I just think it's very relatable. I think just the lyrics. When my time comes, forget the wrongs that I've done. Help me leave behind some reasons to be missed.
Yeah.
I think this one's a little bit more relatable. And
it's again explicitly about him being dead.
It is.
And what would happen if that was the case.
Very much more of a, in the same vein, but I just think the tone, the instrumentation fits more of the tone of the subject matter than Giving Up.
Yeah.
And I just think it's, sometimes when the instrumentation drops out, you can hear the vocals clearer. And I think the singing is great. Again, no rapping in this one. We do have Mike and Delson doing a lot of the strings on here.
Cool.
But I just think it fits the tone right, and the vocals and the lyrics are very clear over the instrumentation, and it's very relatable, and it's something you can sing along with. And I just think the whole package comes together as very relatable and a good piece, even though they're not necessarily doing anything particularly unique instrumentally. I just think it's and it's not a simple lyric song like we do poke holes at some of their stuff.
No, there's a lot of words in this.
Yes.
In a good way.
I just think it's relatable, and it's not too simple. I know they're not doing anything any crazy in the track, but it's just, I don't know. I just think it's one of their best tracks. It's one you will always remember. To me, this is one of my favorite songs of theirs.
I ended up giving it a B+.
Ooh.
I think it's good. I don't think it's the best power ballad on here. I think this is like half power ballads, so there's some stiff competition on here, definitely. I really like the synth loops. I like the way that they kind of weave in and out, and it doesn't really build in intensity, but it builds in complexity as they go along. Maybe that was Rick Rubin trying to make sure it stays interesting with different layers of synths coming in and out. It's cool that Chester harmonizes with himself on it, and there's no mic or anything else. But I think there's better power ballads to come on this thing, honestly. I
just envision being at a live performance. I don't think either one of us got to see Linkin Park live, right?
Unfortunately not.
Yeah. I just think that this is, you could sing along at anyone's tracks that you know the lyrics to, obviously. I just think this is one of the easy ones to have the crowd sing along or sing part of it. To me, that's what I envision.
Yes.
And I envision, performances as I'm listening to music, or how the singer's performing it, or how people would be receiving it. I have some kind of visual going on in my head when I'm listening to music. So I don't know. That's how I envision it.
And that's a good point to bring in what I was speaking about in the Live in Texas episode, where I'm saying that they really became a stadium rock band. And I think this is the album where that has begun, where every song is just designed to just be so clear and so heavy and so catchy that you can just sing along with it in a stadium, and you just understand the concept, you understand the mood, you understand the melody, and it's just like a refined, powerful song. But yeah, maybe as we go through this, we should say how it works like as a record, but then also how it works as like a power, like stadium rock anthem.
Okay.
Because I think they kind of tried to get 12 like stadium rock anthems on here, and maybe that's why it took them 90 tries to do that. I think for I mean, we've had 2 S rankings between the two of us on the 2 songs, so I'd say obviously those are like super relatability is part of it, just having like a universal concept and sound that people can just latch on to.
Yeah. Well, also the first, as we stated, the first 6 tracks have all the singles in it. So if you haven't listened to this album in a while, the back half, you may need to refresh yourself if you're not a regular Linkin Park listener, because I certainly had to.
maybe more of the deep cuts. I mean, that's how you're supposed to do it, really. A side A should be the singles, and side B should be like the weird stuff.
I suppose
in theory, you know, if we're going the old school way.
Well, let's have a quick discussion then, right? So if you're releasing albums to be consumed as a full project, like you were when this came out, you pack it with your singles at the top, right? And in theory, you listen all the way through. But now, if you release a project on a platform, Spotify, iTunes, whatever, where does it matter as much anymore? Aren't you just skipping through? Don't you just hit whatever's trending? Does it matter where you place your songs? I'm sure there's analytics behind this, but I'm sure that it made sense when you're releasing albums to put your singles up front. I would think it'd make sense to put a couple in the middle there somewhere. And I'm sure since a couple of them came out much later down the road, as we stated earlier, that, you know, it was decided that these two, I think there's a combination of things when it comes to singles, right? Mm-hmm. It's both what is the band decides is doing well, and it's also feedback from an audience. So it could be that they decided later on, as they're releasing singles several months afterwards, we think these will do the best, or it's reception. Oh, these two are doing the best. So it could be we're just going to keep releasing our favorite songs, which are at the front, or the best reception we're getting from songs at the beginning of the album. Because they could have mixed them in towards the end. Leave Out All the Best could have been towards the back of the album, even though we tend to get towards some further away from, I think, the rock element towards the end a little bit. It
gets more experimental. They throw more stuff into it, definitely, as it goes along. Which takes us to track 4, Bleed It Out. This was a hit.
It was a hit.
Starts with like a crowd talking and rattling, and a really needly sounding guitar comes in, a tambourine comes in, really kind of chunky, echoey guitars, and a lot of rapping from Mike. It's this really slappy, weird, kind of like barn dance rhythm where there's like stomping on the floor and all kinds of stuff going on, and just like a stomp, clap, stomp, clap. I don't know what exactly genre it's kind of supposed to be. I think what they were trying to do was find new ways to mix rap and rock without being in the same genre of the hybrid theory genre of rap and rock, and to try and say, like, what are the other possible ways where we can mash this together without being the same musically genre. And I think that's was exactly what they were going for on this song.
It was never my favorite song. I understand the clapping and the build up, but it was never my favorite track. I don't know.
I don't think it really works. Even at the time, I was like, they're kind of reaching. They're kind of like trying to force rap back into this in like a weird herky-jerky kind of. At the time, I remember thinking this and being like, this is not quite the comeback because it just doesn't quite slap. It just doesn't quite hit. Do you hear that? Or do you think?
I mean,
I gave the song a C.
Okay, yeah, I think that's fair. Sheesh, yeah.
It's a huge hit, and I felt bad giving it a C. And I was just
like, so what am I missing?
Yeah, it's unique.
Mike rapping, we've got the nice...
It just don't
the
hit.
Hand clapping. We've got, but we don't really have anything unique instrumentally, unless you're hearing something that I don't. Even the music video is them just kind of chilling and playing guitar, playing drums while people are fighting. So, I mean, it's a hype song.
It's a hype song.
But I know I never...
It deserved to be on here. It was a good experiment. I just don't think it works.
I never loved it that much. What'd you grade it?
I gave it a C.
Okay. Yeah. Honestly, I'm not really listening to this song that much. I'm not a big Bleed It Out fan.
I like the vibes of it now, but it's not, even at the time, I was like, it's just not quite right. So let's do Shadow of the Day, track 5. Another kind of melancholy power ballad. more chill. It's chill because it's not heavy, but it's heavy like emotionally and instrumentally. Like it's heavy emotions, even though it's not heavy music, which that's awesome. I think it goes really well with that stadium rock idea where they're finding ways to touch as many people as possible all at once with just music. You like Shadow of the Day?
I do. I like it a lot better than Bleed It Out.
Yeah, big ups, big step forward.
And this is, I think at the time, this was certainly a track that was really a different vibe than anything else they'd released at all.
Yeah.
It's a very relaxing song. I mean, it's about someone who's about to pass, unfortunately, and how to let them kind of go, unfortunately. But it's just very easy on the ears, I think. And I think it's just a different tone than they'd released up to this point on anything else a little bit. And we have more singing on this, and it's just, I like it. I think it's just very chill.
Really pretty singing, like great singing. It's so subtle. There's like drum loops and a little bit of like whistly, kind of wispy synths that go in and out, kind of on a loop. I think it's only Chester singing, maybe some harmonies with himself. This is the best power ballad on the record, I think. I gave the song an S. I think the chorus, the sun will set for you, the sun will set for you, like the melody on that makes you want to cry. Like I don't even exactly understand the metaphor of what the words are trying to say, but you feel the exact kind of mourning emotion, like heartbreak of like something you lost or you're never going to have again, but you're just kind of living in it. And they just hit that with just the notes. And that's hard to do. It's hard to write something that pretty. They tried 12 times on here, or 6 times on here probably. It's probably half and half with like bangers and power ballads.
Yeah.
I think this is the one. I really do. The chorus is just incredible. I'd put it on the mixtape. I'd make sure there was space for this. This would be the power ballad on the mixtape. Was this a single?
There is a music video for it, and it was a single. It was a single, yep. It was the third single off the album. It does have a long runtime, just under 5 minutes. Could have been a little shorter because it is a little repetitive, but I like it. I like it a lot. I'd give it an A. I'd give it a solid A. I like the song a lot. Could be a little shorter, though. One of the better music videos for Linkin Park. Chester's walking through the streets, singing, and we have a lot of riots and military action going on. I'm sure there's symbolism there, like a last day or end of the day. I'm not entirely certain.
It looks pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, the lyrics from the song seem fairly straightforward. I'm not entirely sure how the music video completely relates. I'm not a big fan of all their music videos. The music video is pretty good. The song's great, so I give it a solid. I give it an A, yeah. And
thumbs up in terms of Coliseum Rock or whatever we're calling it. Definitely works.
Yeah, one you can sing along with.
And here's one. This was the Stadium Rock song. The video is them like playing in like a stadium thing in the middle of nowhere, right? With like overhead cameras swirling around them. And if it's the one I'm thinking of, yeah. So they're like really playing up the Stadium Rock aspect. It's larger than life. They're in the void. All they need is the sound. They're in the middle of nowhere, but they can entertain you with just blasting you with this type of music.
This is one of my favorite songs off the album. For a while there, I thought it was played too much.
Yes. Big hit. Big video hit. The video was a hit.
But this is an excellent song, I think. I'm not sure if they do anything super special instrumentally. We do have Mike and Delson doing the strings again that you hear in the background. It's just another...
It's an anthem.
Yeah. Another anthem, another rock song. You know, coming off of Fort Minor and Remember the Name, I wonder if Shinoda's like, hey, we need some more of these.
Yeah. It's got to be an anthem.
Because I'm pretty sure What I've Done and some of these songs were placed on TV shows or advertisements.
Sure. Well, they get the Transformers movie right after this too.
That's right. Yeah. Because of the hype of these, pump up music or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, they were like a go-to band for
Yeah.
a lot of that kind of movies and promotions. And
I'm pretty sure this song was I'm pretty sure if you look this up, I'm pretty sure this song was on multiple platforms just as the song. So, this was just remembering Fort Minor and what I remember the name did. I kind of wonder if some of these songs were not necessarily written with that in mind.
yeah.
But you certainly have to wonder with how a couple of these songs turned out on the Minutes to Midnight project. It's just very interesting that it worked out that way. Because Hybrid Theory was hugely successful, but their songs weren't played on
Right. It's
the
not
NBA
touching as
countdown.
many people. Right.
So
They're going for the clearest, just showing the most amount of people what they can do. I give it a B. It's not my favorite. It's not my second favorite. Better than average. I think they nail it. It's not my favorite.
if it wasn't Beat to Death on the radio, that would have been better. I do give it an A, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I'm starting to doubt that now.
It's a lot like in the end, there's like a piano loop and a sample, and it's kind of like a stripped back, more anthemic, less depressing in the end. I didn't really dig it that much as a kid. It just kind of seemed like, yep, that's their hit. That's just kind of the generic one that you have to have. It didn't seem like super unique.
Yeah, I'm recalibrating on this now. I may pull it back a couple grades.
Oof.
I'll go to B+. I'll
Okay.
be a B+.
I agree.
I'm not skipping it if it comes on, I don't think.
But you're not going for this one, really.
No, I guess I'm not.
It's too much. You've heard it 1,000 times.
That's true. And so we roll from all of our singles here, our songs everyone should remember, into Hands Held High, which is track 7 on the album now.
Definitely experimental. It starts with like a church organ and a clean lead guitar, and then a marching snare comes in, playing like a marching beat, and then a piano comes in. A choir on here. I think it's just the members of Linkin Park all singing as a choir but it sounds like a choir. So they arranged all the notes to create that harmony.
Yeah.
And then Mike raps over it. That thing that they created with all those instruments. And there's violins, of course. Again, the signature Mike Shinoda violins. I think it's a beautiful song.
Yep. This is one of the few bleeded out and given up were the explicit tracks on the album, but this is great. This is a Mike solo song.
There's no Chester, huh?
The few on the album. We've got a little throwback to the End of the Day, which is a throwback to the
that other lyric from Hybrid Theory. Yeah, it's kind of cool that he did that. It's a definite callback to the other lyric.
Is it In the End?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you got the choir on the Amens. Sounds amazing. You got polyphony on this song where you got multiple vocal parts, multiple melodies happening at the same time. 2 different vocal melodies happening. I think some of the rap lines don't land. I think some of the stuff he says in this is goofballs, and that he could have tried a little bit harder, and that's the thing that is taking it down a couple grades for me. I have musically, I'd give it a higher grade, but I got to give it just a straight B. Some of this, I don't know. Maybe I got to have a specific line in mind before I start making fun of Mike again. It does look like, I'm looking at the lyrics now, it does look kind of intense. I guess this is about his dad again. Obviously, kind of went into depth about some of their backstory on Kenji and stuff like that. I don't like the stuttering and mumbling and the da-da-da-da. I don't like that. That's like a crutch that he shouldn't be doing at this point. He does the words on a loose leaf sheet type of thing where he's just writing about writing. He's just got some vocal crutches in here that maybe he could have tried a little bit harder to match the amazingness of the instrumental. That's how I give it a B.
It's not my favorite track. I always like the choruses in the background, the amens with the band members, and it is some more involved content with what he's trying to get across lyrically, but it's not a track you're revisiting. I give it a B because I like the amens.
B for the amens, agreed.
B for the amens. That's about it. Yeah.
No More Sorrow, track 8, another rocker. Starts with the lead guitar again, which is interesting because their guitarist, Brad Delson, is known for not playing lead guitar parts. So it starts with that, and then a crazy like rim slapping rhythm on the drums comes in. Reminds me of like kind of just football pump up music. Like you're about to play a game, you're about to lift some weights, it just absolutely sounds like a sports anthem. It's perfect for stadium rock. I'm sure they really kind of considered that, where they're like, let's get like a really kind of sports jam pump up song, and it's this song.
It's not a track that I remembered, but it's certainly, remembered from back in 2007, but it's certainly a track that is not typical Linkin Park sounding.
No.
It is typical rock band sounding.
Yeah.
It's not heavy lyrically.
No.
There's not much said in the
Very simple
whole
lyrically.
song.
It's almost like disco metal. It's just got that 1 2 1 2 1 2 on the drums, like just a really simple, almost a disco beat to a metal song, and it never changes. They just get that little stompy little rhythm, just going. They do the chill verses and intense choruses. Obviously, just a really good arrangement trick to make your song more interesting. But it's not that complicated or anything. I'll give it a B just because it bangs.
A B, huh?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Pretty simple.
It's pretty simple lyrically. There's some fine singing on here. There's some fine vocals.
But you don't think a B is good? You think it's bad? Worse than a B?
I'm not pumped to play it on my playlist. I'm not pumped to play it really in the car. I'm not pumped to hear it in a stadium. I don't know. I'm not thrilled by it.
Okay.
C+. This is a C+.
Fair enough.
It's fine.
Here's a song that I think is a C, Valentine's Day.
Ooh.
It's cool. I think it's the weakest power ballad on the thing. Lot of clean guitars. Like beating you over the face with just clean guitars this time.
I do like clean guitars. I'd like some clean guitars for Valentine's Day. I'm a sucker for that.
Do you like Valentine's Day, the song?
It's okay.
I think it's melodramatic.
It's a little much. My insides all turned to ash. So slow and blew away as I collapsed. So cold.
Nah, that ain't it. That ain't hitting right. That's like emo garbage.
I don't mind. Again, it's actually like a slightly different variation. It actually makes me think of almost like a little, not full like punk rock, but it's just emo.
Like indie.
Yeah, it is
like
emo.
an emo song.
I don't know. It's
like an indie rock or emo rock.
Again, it's not a Hybrid Theory song.
Not at all.
It's not like a Meteora type song.
Not at all.
It's just something a little different. It's
chill.
Fine. I don't know.
You got Chester harmonizing with himself. Sounds great. This is the one I would have pulled off if I had to cut one. It would be this.
I think it's okay. I would give it a solid C+.
Right. That's what you get for Valentine's Day. An average record. We got In Between on track 10. Starts with a crazy, I think it's probably a cello sample, maybe like a violin tuned really low. It sounds like it's being played on a keyboard though.
And they made it sound that way on purpose. Like they purposely made it like a...
Yeah.
Like it's not a clean...
No, it's not clean at all. It's a riff. No. It's a synthesizer riff. It's cool. It's like kind of otherworldly almost. Like takes you back to like a weird time period that never existed. Really slappy, rim-hitting drum loop. Really strong melody. I think it's too simple of a song. What do you think about it?
Got Mike on solo vocals. Again. It's just another different sounding song. If you do listen to the album all the way through, and you listen to all these songs as we're talking about them right now, it's just another slightly different sounding song. And I was trying to think of what it made me think of. Like Hello Goodbye, Here in Your Arms which came out ballpark this time, kind of made me think about this song, and it's completely different. It's just they used a lot of poppy and electronic sounds, and it really doesn't sound like this at all. But I was trying to think same time period, what kind of made me sound, what sounds, similar, and I was just thinking Hello Goodbye a little bit, but
that'd work in a DJ set. Yeah, keep the vibe going.
But it just shows you that it just skews slightly something else.
Yeah,
and I do kind of like it. It's just a very some of the instrumentation they have going on in the background is just different. Mike's lyrics, vocals are okay. Lyrically, it's not bad. You wouldn't really know because you're kind of distracted by the instrumentation, and it's just very strange. I don't know that it all goes together.
Yeah.
The lyrics aren't terrible. The vocals from Mike are strange because he's singing.
Mm-hmm.
And the instrumentation I kind of like, but it's kind of weird. I don't know.
It's like it's from different time periods all at once.
The parts don't all go together, I don't think.
I gave it a C.
Okay.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Moving on to the second to last track, In Pieces. This may very well be my absolute favorite Linkin Park song. I think this song is phenomenal for about 10 different reasons. Perhaps I can get to 10. What are your right off the bat thoughts before I launch into a crazy rant here?
You crazy rant. You go right on ahead.
It starts with like a drum loop that sounds good, and then they bring in a hand pan. I'm pretty sure it's just called a hand pan, where it's like a hanging drum thing, and you hit the different notes. It's almost like a steel drum, but it's got a slightly kind of higher sound. So they build a loop on that with very unique, very just kind of crunchy, and this song just builds and builds and builds and builds. The dynamics are perfect. It's not like a quiet and then loud and then quiet then loud. It builds all the way, just slightly more intense, slightly more intense, slightly more intense. As we've said before, that's very difficult to do musically. A lot of bands can play loud or soft, and it's the stuff in between. So that's incredible. You got Chester harmonizing with himself, giving like more intense kind of yelling background vocals, and it builds and builds and builds and builds and smashes you in the face, and then it's a ska song. It's clean upstroke guitar with that two-step rhythm. It's like straight up explicitly influenced by ska, but still in this kind of weird, eerie, black and white minimalist framework that they've already been working with the piano and the samples, and there's scratching in there as well. I just think there's so many tiny little rhythmic elements and shifts as it goes on and on and on. It's just so subtle but so intense. The melody's amazing, and then it all ends with a guitar solo, which you never hear from Brad. They just nail it on every single level possible. Instrumentally, rhythmically, stylistically, arrangement-wise, instrument-wise, the different influences and elements that they're bringing in, but also putting their own totally stamp on it. I think this is like completely overlooked in their catalog. I would love to cover this song with my own band one day. I think it would be a lot of fun. You can skank to this song. You can mosh to this song. You can pump your fist and rock out to this song. It's unbelievable that this was not... I mean, no, you don't know this song, really. I mean, most Linkin Park fans don't remember this one.
No.
This is like all the way at the back after every hit on the album. But yeah, I just remember going back to this album and hearing In Pieces and just being blown away and being like, that is the song. Like, they nail every aspect of this record.
Yes.
That you could possibly throw. It's everything. Just throw it into the pot. Throw every sound, every instrument. But it completely works. Like, it's the perfect spices for that dish.
This was the plate that stuck out to me as well, if you will.
Interesting.
Yeah. I just really like the pan in the background. That's another unique instrument that they've brought to the tapestry here.
Yeah, it's like a DJ cut, just like wow, 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 wow. I think it's like a cut of an organ riff.
And apparently this is
oh, you're talking about the hand pan.
The hand pan, man.
Right, and that too. That too. A whole nother different instrument.
But apparently this was a pretty, well, both a important piece for Chester to put together and fairly seamless as he was, getting divorced and then got remarried. And that's what the lyrics here were based on. So it's just a very powerful piece, and there is a story here. So I think it's good lyrically. As you said, it's good instrumentally. We don't have any yelling or screaming or anything in here, which is probably good.
But more subtle than that.
Yeah. So I think this is just a great song. Yeah, I enjoy this quite a bit. I'm not sure if I think it. I do like his screams, or his not quite screams.
The more intense background vocal thing. Yeah.
I almost would have liked a little bit more of that.
Yeah.
At times, because it either runs. The actual song is not that long.
Very short. They get in and get out. 3.5 minutes, but still shorter than a lot of the stuff on here.
To me, it almost sounds like it runs just either a touch long, or I need a little bit more contrast, a little bit more of that yelling. Because just listening to it straight through, I feel like I need a little bit more tone difference, maybe somewhere, contrast, something. It sounds very monotone all the way through.
Yeah.
I mean, I like it.
They keep it tight. Like, they never go too crazy off the edge with it. Like, they keep it all wrapped in there.
And I would just like a touch more edge somewhere. Edgier. I think, personally. This is still an A for me.
Fair. I give it a S+. It would absolutely be on the mixtape. This is one of the songs, like, this is the reason to do the mixtape, to kind of bring out some of these gems and really show some different sides to Linkin Park that everyone might not be familiar with. Absolutely on the mixtape. Best song on the album.
So, that's a good point, because this could absolutely go over Bleed It Out, whatever one I said. Honestly, I get the singles
The one we
didn't
like
now.
is Bleed It Out.
Yeah.
The stompy one.
Right, because they do something different instrumentally.
Yeah.
Vocally, it's a little different with Chester singing through the whole thing.
It's got the guitar solo.
I may have to recalibrate.
It's got the ska. It's got the hand pan.
Yeah. I'll stick with my A for this right now, but that's a good point. You bring up good points here. I'm glad we do this.
Thank you, sir. Last song on the record, the normal album, Little Things Give You Away. This is a waltz. It's in 3/4 time. I think most of it is. They switch up the rhythm kind of a lot, actually, but I think most of it's in 3/4 time. A lot of stuff goes on this. 6-minute song.
Yeah.
You got guitar feedback. You got acoustic guitar. You got a really weird sample that's like a radio sample or something. Chugs and chugs and chugs. There's the bridge section where it's just straight up jazz music, where I'm not sure what kind of jazz music, but it's really atmospheric. And there's polyphony on it too, because all the vocal parts fit on all the other pieces of music, so they sing multiple melodies stack on top of each other.
Lyrically, there isn't a ton to it, but it's still stripped back to where when they do kind of the clean guitar and stuff like that, it brings the vocals to the forefront, so you can kind of hear exactly what's going on, at least in my mind. That's how I always envision it. I just think it's another kind of storytelling song.
Definitely. Got some violin on there too, I think. It's almost like a folk song. It just kind of chugs along, makes you just think of like old-fashioned people kind of just playing outside on a tree stump, like almost. But then they got that alien music stuff in there too. A lot of the stuff on here seems to mix sounds from different time periods, like old-fashioned sounds and then also futuristic sounds. And this song is like the culmination of kind of that idea. I think it definitely works as a stadium rock song. You can sing along. The polyphony, you can sing to whichever part you want to sing to.
I think it's a song that's underrated. Don't know if it's placed at the back of the album because it's such a long track, or
that's a good closer.
Yeah, I think it is too. It's certainly not, the rock songs we were getting earlier in the album, as you get earlier in the album. Certainly an underrated track. Solid lyrically. I like the instrumentation. Not a song that I remembered without reviewing the album.
Yeah.
I don't know that you need a song necessarily that's 6 minutes. I don't know who's listening to the whole thing.
Long.
But I still like the track. I think it's worth going back and re-listening to if you don't recall the track.
Yeah, this is a really good reason to listen to the whole album or listen to, you know, some of the stuff you don't remember. I think it's cool. I like that it jams out and, you know, kind of explores all the different rhythms that you can do with this kind of a song.
For me, it's still an A-. It just has to find its spot. You don't just throw it in a playlist somewhere.
I think I agree with the A-. That makes sense. They could have tightened it up a little bit more. Make it maybe bang a little bit.
Well, and again, it's fine just the way it is, but you're also not playing it in the middle, maybe not in the middle of a party without some variation, or just depending on what your mood is, just because of the length and the tone. It's very mellow, and there's not a lot of, I guess, contrast. There's a lot of different things going on, like you said, but for Linkin Park style, there's not a lot of crescendo, and so
yeah, it's another just straight ahead power ballad or whatever, where it's just kind of stays on the same level of intensity.
Yes, that's what I would say.
Yeah. So that's the normal tracks. I guess we should at least cover the more unique bonus tracks, I think, probably.
Let's do that.
Let's talk about some bonus tracks. So you got No Roads Left. I guess it's the tour edition bonus track. I guess they hit the road, and then if you bought it on tour, you got this extra song. It's a cool song. It's just Mike on the vocals, no Chester. It's another one of these ones where it's like, I can't tell if it's a generic rock song or it's just kind of a unique thing where it's just a simple rock song.
It's not bad. It's Mike
it's minimalist.
solo. It is. It's Mike solo on the vocals. So you're not getting Chester screams, Chester vocals. It's fine.
Yeah, it's kind of fine. The riff at the end is cool. It goes into kind of this electronic riff at the very end that I like a lot. But other than that, it's kind of just feels half-baked. Like maybe they could have done a lot more with this to add some more textures and elements to it. I got to give it a C-.
I'll give it a C. I think it's listenable, but I don't think you're missing too much by, you know, not grabbing this from the Tours edition. It was also an iTunes bonus track, but I don't think you're missing too much here.
Then you got a distorted remix of What I've Done as a unique bonus track. I think it's kind of dope. It's kind of a B-side version of What I've Done, like What I've Done Part 2. They really mix it up a lot, actually. It's not just distorted. They got some stutters in there, some different sounds going on. It's kind of like a retread, but a sequel to What I've Done.
Yeah, I kind of like, since What I've Done, the original was on the radio so much, I kind of like this variation of it.
Yeah, that's cool. That's a good idea.
So,
I'll give it a B. I like it.
Yeah, I would give it, I'd give it a B.
Then you got Across the Line, another original, you know, new song for the bonus tracks. Different vibe. It's kind of comes in with a really weird synth vibe, and Chester kind of whispering, kind of scratchy vocals like this going on. This is a different vibe from the rest of the album, I think.
I like it. I like it a lot. The lyrics are very vivid. In the desert,
it's like very storytelling.
In darkness, in desert and darkness, lying with the gun across his chest, pretending he's heartless as the fire flashes in the sky.
And it's just like that really tight 4/4, just like you just stand in one spot and bop your head, like almost like a punk rhythm, but even more electronic, more kind of just programmed, like on the beat. Every single hit is on the beat, like a robot music. And then the bridge is just nuts. They just rip into it. So it's like, it's one of the most rockin' ones, but then also it's got all that really weird boop bop synths at the beginning.
Yeah, I like this track a lot.
I give it an A. I think it's awesome.
I'll give it an A as well.
I can't believe this wasn't like a single, honestly. The way that the outro goes, it's very kind of anthemic and iconic, and I don't understand how this was not on the album.
I would have thought this not only would have made the album, but would have made the front half of the album.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Could have possibly been single material, maybe.
They mix it up a lot. Like, they do everything you could possibly do with this riff.
And then the final bonus track that's not just a live version is Leave Out All the Rest, Mike Shinoda remix. And just like the that other remix we already talked about on this album, it's kind of like the Reanimation version where it's like basically a sequel, basically like another record kind of based on the original. But it's not like a retread. It's like a new piece of music that's kind of the sequel to the other one. I think it's kind of cool.
I do like when they produce things like this. It's pretty good. I don't know that it's something I'd come back to, but it's something unique to listen to.
It's way more distorted, way more programmed, like just blatantly throwing like drum loops on there. It's kind of extreme in that way. It's like, but it's kind of cool. I think it just is a C song.
I'd give it a C as well. I wish that they'd bring the vocals forward for it so we could hear more vocals, the mix-up that they're doing, but there's just not as much of that. It's just, I don't know. When they kind of drop the vocals out and mix it and just do instrumentation, I still want the vocals. You can mix with the instrumentation and chop the vocals up or whatever you're going to do, but I still need more vocals and not just stuff faded out or diminished. I still need vocals in my song, man. And this kind of fades them out, drops them out altogether in parts, so I'm not a fan of that. I give this a D, I guess. I'm talking myself out of it, so I give them it's a D.
That's about it. Some of those bonus tracks were pretty dang cool. It's cool that they always figure out how to add some more stuff on there for you. Overall, though, the album as a package, I think they annihilated it. I think they knew exactly what they wanted to do with this new stadium rock idea. It took them years to do it and 90 songs to do it, but I think they really accomplished exactly what they were trying to do.
Yeah, I think this is a great reintroduction to the scene after being away for so long as the collective Linkin Park. And, I mean, they had 5 singles, 5 music videos off of this, and it wasn't Hybrid Theory, but nothing ever was again. But I think this is a great project. I like that they continue to experiment on every track.
Every track.
And this was a great project.
A lot more hits than misses. We gave a lot of S's on here. I think some of their all-time greatest tracks. I love their later period stuff. I mean, I know a lot of people got stuck on the nu metal and didn't like some of the experimentation going forward. This is a solid album. I think it's great that they have to try and mix it up every time and they never want to make the same song twice.
Yeah, I think that's a big piece of why they stuck around, even if they lost some folks after Hybrid Theory, Meteora in the early 2000s.
I think the next album's even better, Living Things, the next Linkin Park album. But actually, before we cover that, we're gonna do Road to Revolution live at the Milton Keys, the second live album released by Linkin Park. So that's what we're gonna do next time on the POLYMUSE podcast where we do our artists that changed our lives. We go in depth on them and we bring them all out to you. So hope you enjoyed our episode on Minutes to Midnight.
And we will hit you with an album review next time.
Hit you then.